Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simping in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere. Sunday, a former aide to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo made an allegation of sexual harassment against the governor. Now, after I saw the coverage as related to this case of alleged sexual harassment, I started to clearly see a double standard as related to the way these cases are starting to be covered by the mainstream media. Now, when I take a critical examination of this allegation of sexual harassment against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, I clearly see how many of these white men and white women are starting to form a new code as related to how they cover these cases as related to alleged sexual harassment and how they're trying to turn the black man into the boogeyman. Now, in this case of alleged sexual harassment, this former aide again alleges that Andrew Cuomo made this alleged sexual harassment against him, but there was next to no coverage of this story by the mainstream media. And when it was covered by the mainstream media, it was actually presented in a very dismissive tone, very different than what we got during the Me Too era of 2018 to 2020. And that's another critical question I have to ask as related to this alleged case of sexual harassment. Where is the Me Too movement? Where is Time's Up? And where are the silence breakers? I thought it was their mission to go out here and stop alleged sexual harassment and sexual assault. And I wonder what happened to all of those white feminists out there and those black feminists as well. Here is a powerful and prominent politician who has been alleged to have participated in an act of sexual harassment, and we don't hear from any of these individuals coming out to protest this New York governor. And I have to wonder if they're staying home because of the political party he's affiliated with, because the very same political party that he's affiliated with is the same one that Joe Biden is a part of. And we all know that those allegations against Joe Biden made by Tara Reade practically disappeared overnight after they were made, as this Joe Biden's party practically made them disappear. And we also notice that your Me Too, your Time's Up, and your Silence Breakers are on the same left political side. And again, quite interesting how these allegations against Andrew Cuomo are disappearing in the exact same way they disappeared against your Joe Biden. And when you really look at the facts as related to these allegations against your Andrew Cuomo, you start to clearly see a double standard as related to these allegations made against your white men these days and allegations made against black men like your Nate Parker. Now, I find it interesting that the media again downplayed the coverage of the story of these allegations against your Andrew Cuomo, but we all got major coverage as related to these allegations that were old as related to Nate Parker. Now, Nate Parker a week ago was making a promotion as related to releasing the trailer for his new movie American Skin, and as he was making the trailer release for American Skin, we had members of the legacy black media coming out here making more old claims as related to a sex crime that Nate Parker participated in way back in 1999 in an effort to try to tear down Nate Parker's career. And this case had actually been dealt with in court back in the 1999. So your Nate Parker was cleared of any charges in that case. However, we had members of the legacy black media making efforts to get that story out on Nate Parker once more in an effort to smear his reputation. And when I look at the way Nate Parker was treated last week and the way the media has been trying to go after Bill Cosby a couple of weeks before with his appeal, it clearly start to see a double standard emerging as related to the way allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault are made against black men and white men, and the way that they're covered for black men and white men are starting to become clearly different. These white men are not seen as predators. Instead, what we have is people trying to dismiss the claims of the white men now, and we have people trying to turn the black men into the brute of the month. And this, again, is clear when you look at the way the stories of Bill Cosby's appeal were covered in the mainstream media, with people trying to dig up old stories on Bill Cosby in an effort to try to demonize him as related to his appeal and make him into a black brute. And look at the way Nate Parker, as related to his second film, is now being presented as another bad guy in an effort to demonize black men and make black men into the black boogeyman. Because the ultimate goal of groups like the Me Too movement, Time's Up, and the Silence Breakers is to make the black man into the boogeyman and make the black man into the bad guy and make him the ultimate image of sexual predation. Because this is the old stereotype that people want to promote as related to the black man. And all of this is not coming from your right-wing people. No, all of these cases, in many cases, are coming from people on the left. And it seems like those on the left want to go out here and they want to shield guys like your Andrew Cuomo, and they want to shield this guy, as I see it, because they know that Joe Biden is again possibly considering him to be the next attorney general. But that really shows us how there's a clear ethical issue as related to the way the media covers this story, and there's clearly an ethical issue as related to how these allegations are made and how these allegations are being covered in the mainstream media. There's all of this major coverage for black men alleged of sex crimes or sexual misconduct or sexual harassment, like Bill Cosby, men like Cuba Gooding Jr., and men like Nate Parker, and there's clearly no objectivism as related to these cases. And this is quite troubling because it continues to show us how dangerous and disturbing this standard of trust and believe is. And it shows us how, in the era of trust and believe, things are actually getting worse because we're starting to see a return to gynocentric Jim Crow, where these white females try to cover up the behaviors of these white men because they believe they're going to get some sort of benefit from them, and people in the mainstream media cover for these white men in an effort to get benefits from them. So it shows us a clear case of bias as related to the way our journalists are covering these stories. We get all of this coverage as related to black men to make them into the bad guy, but the white man is all the allegations are presented in a dismissive tone, and that we're not presented as serious as we were during the era of Me Too, where people were going after guys like Harvey Weinstein, and many executives were starting to see a change as related to the way these stories are covered, because I believe many as related to the Me Too movement and Time's Up, they have been bought off and paid for with these nonprofits, and now that they've been bought and paid for, what they want to do is go back to business as usual. And business as usual is making the black man the boogeyman and making the black man the face of sexual predation. That's what's going on right now, and we're seeing a complete change as related to the way these stories are covered. And when we look at the Andrew Cuomo story, we're seeing a complete shift back to what many would call normal for white supremacy, making it where you can't make any story stick to the white man, but you can make the black man the boogeyman and the face of sexual predation, and make him out to be the black brute of the month, and make him into the bad guy that everybody sees as a threat to everyone, because in the eyes of your racists, they believe that the black man is a monster and a sexual deviant, and this is the image they want to present as related to the narrative for the black man, make him into the monster that they can go out here and destroy, and then meanwhile they can continue going on being out here participating in whatever behavior they're participating in, and there's no efforts to get any sort of due process for black men and get justice for black men as related to these allegations, and in a way to find a way to make them find out if they're substantiated or not. Now, I don't know if these allegations against Andrew Cuomo are true or not, but I have my doubts about those women's motivation, because these allegations didn't come out until Joe Biden was considering Andrew Cuomo for the role of Attorney General. But when I look at the big picture and I look at the way the media is covering the story, I can clearly see there is no objectivity as related to the way this story is covered, and I clearly see that both stories are covered in a way that shows us there's a difference between the way the news covers a story in black and white. Now, this video will not be monetized, and in order to continue making more videos like this, I need your support. So if you could donate to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box in the comments section, it would be greatly appreciated. Or you could head over to Amazon.com and pick up one of my books, and in either positive African American fiction or my nonfiction books like Stop Simping in the Workplace, which will teach you how to avoid getting in situations like this where allegations of sexual harassment can be made against you. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.